Hey guys, it's Dow. This is my new YouTube show, Peanuts and Cracker Jacks. This is my first foray into the social media world. I don't have any expectations for this show other than I was looking for a place to talk about baseball with you guys. Some of you that I've known for years have been getting what I jokingly refer to as the newsletter, which started out as a way for me to vent my frustrations over Mississippi State sports in general. But this particular channel, we're going to talk strictly baseball. We may throw in another sport if it's something particularly interesting happening currently. But for the most part, this is going to be Major League Baseball talk and Mississippi State baseball whenever the spring comes around and we get things going in the college area. Right now, this is December the 14th, I believe, so we're right in the middle of winter. AKA the Hot Stove League. So the topic of our first show here today is going to be free agents. Not a really deep crop of free agents this year as far as top end talent. We don't have a Bryce Harper or Manny Machado out there this year that's going to command a $300 million deal, a 10 plus year deal. We had Mookie Betts, obviously, back in the summer when the MLB season first started. After he was traded to the Dodgers, signed his, I believe it was a 12-year extension for $300+ million. We're not going to see any of that over the next couple of months. We do have some big names that we're going to talk about today. We're just going to go by position group and see who's out there. Like I said, there are some big names, but it's not a particularly deep group. We've got some guys that could turn some would-be contenders into front runners. And with that, we're going to start with the first position, which is the catchers group. The first guy on that list, I'm sure you've heard of him or heard the rumblings, is JT Realmuto, catcher with the Philadelphia Phillies the last 2 years. This is an interesting story because the Phillies just traded for Realmuto 2 years ago, the same time that they signed Bryce Harper to his mega contract. This looked like it was going to be a sign that the Phillies were all in, were really making a push to compete for a pennant in the National League with Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins. You still had a Segura that was playing well at the time. You had Aaron Nola on the mound. They went out and got Zach Wheeler. They were spending a lot of money and looked like they really came to play. But now, 2 years later, Realmuto is a free agent, and the Phillies are saying, well, we lost too much money in 2020 because of the coronavirus. Well, everybody lost money in 2020 because of the coronavirus. We only played a third of the season. Obviously, revenues were projected based on a full season, and they didn't get that. But all of a sudden, you're looking at quite possibly not signing Realmuto, possibly trading away Wheeler, because if you believe reports, they lost upwards of $2 billion. Now, I don't believe that number by any means, but it has been a number that's put out there. But to make a really long story short, where's Realmuto going to go if he doesn't re-sign with the Phillies? The number one option that I see out there is the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays have been mentioned with every potential free agent on the market, but this one makes the most sense for everybody. The Blue Jays obviously have a need at catcher, and Realmuto can be argued that he's the top all-around catcher in the business. He's 30, 31 years old. He's probably looking for, I would guess, at least 5 years because this is going to be his big contract. If the Phillies are not going to pay for it, Toronto's right there. They're looking at winning in the next year or two with the offense that they've got coming back. Adding Realmuto to that lineup makes them an instant contender right there with Tampa Bay and New York. So if I had to put money on it today, I would say that JT Realmuto signs with the Toronto Blue Jays. If not, there may be a window for him to go back to Philadelphia. I really don't see anybody else out there because the number 2 catcher in the market, James McCann, just signed a 4-year, $40 million deal with the New York Mets, who were reported to be one of the front runners for JT Realmuto. So obviously that's out. So we have to go to somebody else. Like I said, I think that's the Toronto Blue Jays. Other than Realmuto and James McCann, there's really no other catchers out there that you're looking at in the free agency market. Yadier Molina, supposedly, according to rumors, he's not happy with St. Louis as far as the offer that they gave him to come back. I can't see Yadier going anywhere else. He's been there for 10, 15 years now. He's one of those guys that's just a lifer. I don't see him moving on. Moving to the next group, first baseman. If your team is in need of a first baseman, I feel really bad for you because there are none on the market. There's nobody out there worth signing. Carlos Santana was probably the biggest name in that position group. He's left Cleveland. He signed with Kansas City. Obviously, signing with Kansas City, you know, he was taking what he could get. Kansas City's not going to win at least for the next 4 or 5 years, and that's even if their minor league system pans out. Beyond Santana, you're not looking at anybody other than Bulldog fans are looking at Mitch Moreland. Moreland finished the season in San Diego, probably had one of the best seasons of his career. He still got some pop. If Moreland were to go anywhere, I'd be looking at somewhere like Colorado. You know, Rockies, pick up the phone, call Mitch Moreland. You got a left-handed bat that can give you 15 to 20 home runs a year, help groom a younger guy coming up. Moreland's getting into the latter stages of his career. He's not looking to play every day, or you're not looking for him to play every day anyway, wherever you sign him. Beyond that, like I said, there's really nobody out there. I feel sorry for you if you really wanted a first baseman this year because you're not going to get it. At second base, the biggest name out there, and again, probably the only one worth talking about is DJ LeMahieu. LeMahieu's been in New York with the Yankees the last 2-3 seasons. He's won batting titles in New York. He's won a batting title in Colorado. And honestly, if New York doesn't re-sign him, Yankees fans, go ahead and write yourselves off. If this guy leaves your offense, you're not going anywhere. Okay, we'll get to some of those reasons later. This is the engine that really drives the train for the Yankees. He's not the best player in baseball, but he may be the most consistent. He's a guy that can come up and get a hit whenever you need it. He can play leadoff. He can play 3 or 4 different positions. You're not going to win another pennant, and certainly not a World Series behind Giancarlo Stanton. Okay, you're not going to win behind Gio Urshela. You're not going to win certainly with Gary Sanchez. Those are not the guys that are going to take you to the next level. DJ LeMahieu is going to be that guy. So New York Yankees fans, beg your team to re-sign him. Okay, if you follow the internet rumors, everybody's a player for him for obvious reasons. Again, I think he's looking for 5 years. From what I've read, the Yankees have offered 4. When it comes down to dollars, that's about $25 million. You know, break out the pocketbook, spend the extra $25 million, re-sign him. You may have a chance to compete with Tampa Bay, with Toronto next year in the American League. Other than DJ LeMahieu at second base, names you're looking at are Colton Wong, Tommy La Stella. These are not marquee names by any means. These are mainly defensive guys that are solid, but not great players. Third base, again, a very short list. Justin Turner has been playing third base for the Los Angeles Dodgers for the last, I would say, 7 or 8 years. Okay, Justin Turner's 36 years old. You don't want to sign him to a long-term deal, but again, a lot like LeMahieu, he's the heart and soul of that franchise. Bring him back. Give him a 2-year deal. Win the next 2 years. You're already loaded. Don't do anything crazy. Sign Justin Turner. Bring him back to Los Angeles. You're probably going to win the next 2 World Series titles anyway. You don't really need to change anything. At shortstop, Marcus Semien. Somehow he finished 3rd in the MVP race for the Oakland A's 2 years ago. I don't really understand how that happened. He's another good but not great player. I would look for him to re-sign with Oakland. If he doesn't sign with Oakland, maybe a wild card, staying out on the West Coast, Seattle. Seattle's got a lot of young, really good players. Roll the dice, sign Semien to a 5 or 6 year deal. Maybe by the time some of these young outfielders that you've got in your minor league system are ready, he'll still be in his prime. Outfield, George Springer is one of the most underrated players in Major League Baseball, in my opinion, or at least one of the most unsung. You never hear anything about this guy, but he's hit 30 to 40 home runs every year for the last 5 or 6 years. He bats leadoff. He plays center field. He's won a World Series in Houston. Whether you believe that's tainted or not, he's as big a part of that as Alex Bregman or Carlos Correa or Jose Altuve. This guy brings it every year. He's never slacked off. He's going to be a consistent 280 hitter, 30 home runs, 90 to 100 RBIs. The Mets have been mentioned all along as the biggest front runner to sign him. I don't know that I believe that. I really don't. The Mets sound a lot to me like the New York Yankees several years ago when everybody thought they were going to sign LeBron and all these other free agents. They've got a lot of money to spend, but does anybody really want to go play for the Mets? I would not be surprised if Houston, just sits back and watches to see what the market is for Springer, because, like I said, we're not going to see any long-term contracts, not the 10-year contracts, not the $200, $300 million contracts this year. They may be able to sign him for a relative discount versus what might have happened if we didn't have a global pandemic that shortened the season this year and caused everybody to suffer revenue-wise. If Springer doesn't go back to Houston, if he doesn't sign with the Mets, wild card I've got in mind is in Atlanta. Springer's 31. He's got a good 4 years left in him. I don't think Atlanta's going to re-sign Marcell Ozuna. We'll talk about that when we get to the DHs. Springer would be a perfect fit in that outfield. You'd have Springer, you'd have Acuna, and you'd have Pache out there in the outfield. They'd give you the best defensive outfield in Major League Baseball, and possibly the best offensive as well. Current teammate of George Springer, Michael Brantley, he's also on the free agent market. Brantley is nothing if not solid. I expect to see a lot of interest in Michael Brantley. He's getting up there in age, so again, it won't be a long-term contract. He's probably looking at 2 years max. If I'm him, I'm looking to go to a contender. I don't know if there's room in Chicago, but the White Sox would be a great fit for him. Toronto would be a great fit for him. You're not looking at any of the small market teams, I don't think, but you could possibly see somebody open up a pocketbook just for a short-term fix like Tampa. Tampa's obviously not going to spend any money. They never have. But again, they're right there at the top. They're going to be in the picture again for another World Series title. Adam Eaton is another one that's already signed. Adam Eaton signed with the White Sox. He left Washington after a few years there. Another 275, 280 hitter, 15 home runs a year, just a solid right fielder. Nothing special. Nobody's going to get excited over him, but he does help the White Sox out considerably. And in Mississippi State news, Hunter Renfroe did sign a one-year deal with the Boston Red Sox this morning for $3 million. Very surprised that he got that much money. Renfroe strikes out at about a 40% clip, but when he doesn't strike out, he usually goes deep. He's the ultimate feast or famine guy at the plate. But he does bring you one of the best arms in Major League Baseball to put out in right field. Or if you need him to play center or left, he can move over if he needs to. Designated hitters, we mentioned Marcell Ozuna just a minute ago. Had a monster season in Atlanta this year. But Ozuna, while he did play a little left field, he's gonna be more than likely strictly a designated hitter going on. This has Toronto written all over it. We mentioned JT Realmuto earlier. If you throw Realmuto and Marcell Ozuna together into Toronto's lineup, this is one of the most lethal offenses in Major League Baseball, and more than makes up for their lack of pitching. Gives Ozuna a chance to just bat, going to the American League after being with the Braves last year and with St. Louis and Miami previously. This seems like a perfect fit for me. He is a monster at the plate, and he's worth whatever he gets this year. I think he made $19 million last year. I would be surprised if he averaged more than 20 a year on this next contract. But if there is somebody big out there that somebody overspends on, I think it'll be him. I'd compare him a lot to Nelson Cruz, who's also a free agent this year. Cruz found a second life about 5 or 6 years ago when it seemed like he was over the hill, and he's done nothing but hit 40 home runs since then in Minnesota, and I expect him to go back to Minnesota. He's comfortable there. Minnesota likes him. They're still in contention. They were this year. They don't have enough to get to the top, but I don't see them letting Cruz go. Again, you're looking at a 1 or 2 year deal there for him as well. He's 40. You're definitely not going more than 2 years on that. I think we've covered everything other than pitchers, and there are 1,000 arms out there. The only one that really matters is Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer, as you know, was the Cy Young winner in the National League with the Cincinnati Reds this last year. I don't have the numbers directly in front of me, but I believe Trevor Bauer was about 6-5 overall with a sub-2 ERA. That's certainly not Garrett Cole type numbers. That's not Clayton Kershaw. People want you to believe that Trevor Bauer is in the same class as those guys. He's just not. If we were talking Hall of Fame, Trevor Bauer would be Hall of Very Good. But if anybody is going to get paid this year, real money is going to be Trevor Bauer, because as we all know, starting pitching is the biggest commodity in Major League Baseball. Obviously, both New York teams have been mentioned as candidates for him. The Dodgers have been mentioned. San Diego, not as much, but I could see San Diego definitely being a factor in Trevor Bauer. He's from Southern California, or at least he went to school in Southern California. I can see him going back to that area of the country. He also goes back to San Diego, and it's the kind of place where he has success, where there's not as many eyeballs on him, not as many people in the media giving him a hard time as there would be in New York if he goes there. He might want to reunite with Garrett Cole, old college teammate with the Yankees. But again, unless the money is just that much difference, I don't see it. I really think that San Diego could be the place for him to go. The Dodgers have been mentioned the last couple of days, and they've obviously got the money and they don't mind spending it. If the Dodgers were to sign him, I think that means that you're probably not going to see Clayton Kershaw in Los Angeles for more than another year, because Kershaw's deal comes up after this year, and they're not going to pay that many guys $30 million a year, even if they do have all that TV money coming in and World Series titles. I just can't see it happen. So I would look at San Diego, number one, and I would possibly look at the Yankees. I don't think the Mets are going to be a factor. I think the Mets are going to end up striking out on most everybody this year. If you're a Mets fan, sorry, but you should be used to it by now. A couple other guys that I want to mention real quick. From the Yankees, Masahiro Tanaka and James Paxton are both free agents this year. They're both not going to re-sign with New York. Maybe neither of them re-sign with New York. I would bet a significant amount of money that Paxton signs with whoever offers him the most money. I don't think he cares, and he's got a history of injury problems. He's the biggest gamble out there right now. I don't think he's looking to go necessarily to a contender, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of contenders willing to pay a lot of money for him. Tanaka could have some more suitors than that. The Yankees supposedly have not shown a whole lot of interest in re-signing him, but if one of those guys were to re-sign with the Yankees, I would say it would be Tanaka. Other than that, like I said, there are a ton of arms out there. In the bullpen, Liam Hendricks, I'd look for him to re-sign with Oakland or possibly go to LA or San Diego. I don't think he's leaving California. Interesting fact out there. Liam Hendriks took Blake Training's job in Oakland 2 years ago. Training signed with LA this past year, but has signed a 1-year deal, so he's a free agent now. So could the Dodgers sign Liam Hendriks and let Training go? And again, Training lose his job to Liam Hendriks. It's possible. If I had a choice between the two, I would definitely take Hendriks. He's more consistent. They both throw gas, are great at the back end of a game, but you're not going to sign both of them. If I had to sign one of them again, I'd sign Liam Hendriks. Kirby Yates, I think he's going to be out in San Diego. He's got an elbow issue. Maybe Brad Hand to San Diego, maybe Liam Hendriks, I don't know. We're going a little longer than I had planned, but 2 quick notes I want to mention here. These guys are not free agents, but they're on the trade block. Nolan Arenado and Frankie Lindor. As soon as Arenado signed his last deal in Colorado, he immediately said that he wanted to go to LA. I can't see the Dodgers giving up prospects or players to get Arenado because he can opt out of his contract after this year. I mentioned earlier that they need to sign Justin Turner. Turner plays the same position as Arenado. He's not the player that he is, but he's not as young either. But if you really wanted Arenado, just sign him in the offseason after the 2020 season. If he really wants to come there, you can get him without having to give anything up for him. Frankie Lindor, Cleveland's got him on the block. I have no idea where Lindor is going to go. Again, the Mets are an option. I'd like to see him in Miami personally. The only problem with Miami is if you sign Lindor, that's going to double your payroll, and I don't know that Miami's ready to do that yet. But those are 2 names out there, the 2 biggest names that are being mentioned on the trade block. We'll see how that goes. I don't expect a whole lot of action over the next couple of weeks, but as soon as January 1 rolls around, I think we'll start seeing some more action as far as these guys signing. Again, I went a little longer than I planned to. My intention is to keep you guys entertained for 5 or 10 minutes usually. If there's a signing or a topic come up, so we'll do some team previews after the first of the year. But I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, subscribe, comment, tell a friend, whatever you're supposed to do on social media. Let me know what you thought, and maybe we'll do this again. Until next time, this is Peanuts and Cracker Jacks. See you later.